Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the sources you send us and, well, try to find the surprising links between them. Today, we're going on a pretty fascinating trip, looking at altered states of consciousness,
Huh.
but from two really different angles, right? We've got the sort of cultural, artistic side, specifically an analysis of an AI-generated space rock album.
Breathing the Infinite. Quite a title.
It is. And then alongside that, we have this solid review of breakthrough psychedelic therapies in medicine.
Yeah, clinical science meeting, well, cosmic rock.
Exactly. And our focus really is how both fields seem to be using this idea of transformation, specifically breaking down barriers, sensory ones, psychological ones, as a way to change things. And we really have to start with this quote. It's from the source material from Terence McKenna. It kind of sets the whole stage.
Oh yeah, that one's powerful.
He says, psychedelics are illegal, not because a loving government is concerned that you may jump out of a third-story window. Psychedelics are illegal because they dissolve opinion structures and culturally laid down models of behavior and information processing. They open you up to the possibility that everything you know is wrong.
Wow. Yeah, that really captures it. It perfectly frames what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
We're basically connecting these two, seemingly very different areas, art and clinical science. But they're both fundamentally interested in getting past established patterns, whether that's using sound to dissolve the line between yourself and the universe.
Or using chemistry to rewire trauma pathways in the brain.
Exactly. It's about transformation, but it often involves this element of, well, surrender, letting go of the old structure.
Okay, let's dive into the art first. This album, Breathing the Infinite, a psychedelic odyssey. It's positioned as more than just music.
Right. It's called a narrative experiment, using sound itself to explore consciousness, big cosmic ideas, and this philosophical tightrope walk between signal and static.
Signal and static? I like that.
And what's really cool is how the sound design itself acts like a language. It's a mix, a hybrid.
How so?
Well, you've got these really warm, vintage analog sounds, swirling organs, those classic mellotron pads, hints of sitar, fuzzy flanged guitars.
Right. The stuff that immediately takes you back to 60s psych rock. It feels human, tactile.
Precisely. That's the anchor, the human element. But then it's fused really intentionally with these very modern, almost alien digital sounds.
Okay, like what?
Things like granular synthesis, that shimmery, fractured sound you can't really play manually, deep, booming 808 bass hits, and incredibly precise, clean drum production.
So that suggests something else, the digital realm.
Yeah, the vastness, maybe the coldness, the informational overload of our current digital world. The texture, the production itself carries just as much meaning as any melody.
And the production techniques you mentioned, spatialization, panning, reverse effects, echo, they're not just window dressing.
Not at all. They're described as dramaturgical tools. They're actively trying to mess with your sense of time and space as you listen.
To mirror that feeling of dissolution when time feels weird or your sense of self shifts.
Exactly. It maps onto that classic psychedelic journey. Perception gets heightened, then things start to break down, maybe you hit a transcendent moment, but ultimately, it ends in ambiguity.
And that ambiguity is key, isn't it? The recurring question in the lyrics, am I the signal or the static?
Right. The album doesn't give you an easy answer. It kind of forces you to sit with that uncertainty, which is very much part of the experience it's trying to evoke.
And culturally, it's definitely nodding to its roots, 60s psych, krautrock, prog rock, but it feels very contemporary too.
Absolutely. It's engaging with today's anxieties, information overload, how technology shapes our experience. They even use different languages, Spanish, Latin, French.
Widens the scope, makes it feel more global, maybe more universal.
Yeah, it's like this internal journey is now a worldwide conversation, partly thanks to technology itself, which actually provides a perfect bridge.
Ah, okay, so if art can use sound to break down these structures?
What happens when clinical science uses chemistry to achieve a similar kind of structural surrender? And the potential impact here, especially for really stubborn mental health issues, it's massive. This medical renaissance is really significant.
Okay, let's get into the specifics. Starting with psilocybin, the compound in magic mushrooms. It's getting a lot of attention for major depressive disorder, right? Especially cases that haven't responded to anything else.
That's right. And the way it seems to work ties back beautifully to that McKenna quote about dissolving models. Researchers think psilocybin temporarily dials down the brain's default mode network, the DMN.
The DMN, that's like the brain's background chatter, the part that ruminates and worries.
Exactly. Your internal monologue, your sense of self, planning, worrying. When the DMN quiets down, the brain suddenly shows this burst of connectivity between regions that don't normally communicate much.
Like opening up all the back roads when the main highway closes?
That's a great analogy. It helps people break out of those rigid, negative thought loops. Typical of depression, they report gaining new perspectives. And the key finding is that even a single guided session can lead to significant symptom reduction that lasts for weeks, sometimes months.
But the guided part is important, isn't it? It's not just about taking the substance.
Oh, absolutely critical. This is the main difference between therapeutic use and just, recreational use. The chemical effects are temporary, but the insights, the changes, they only stick if they're processed and integrated.
Integrated, meaning?
Meaning you need a safe, structured setting with trained therapists. They prepare you, guide you during the intense parts, and crucially, help you make sense of it all afterwards. That integration work, turning the aha moment into lasting change, that's maybe 80% of the therapy. It's not just about the trip, it's about the journey back.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk MDMA. It's got this breakthrough therapy status from the FDA, specifically for PTSD. The results sound really promising.
They are genuinely transformative. And it works differently from psilocybin. MDMA boosts neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. But critically for trauma, it also boosts oxytocin,
Oxytocin, the bonding hormone.
the trust hormone.
Exactly. So this chemical combination creates this profound feeling of safety, empathy, and openness.
So if someone's trying to process a traumatic memory, which normally triggers intense fear or shutdown,
The MDMA creates a sort of internal safety net. It allows patients to revisit those incredibly painful memories, but without being completely overwhelmed by the panic or dissociation that usually comes with them. They can look at it, process it with a degree of emotional distance.
which allows for actual reprocessing and healing?
Precisely. Things that were previously just too terrifying to even approach become manageable. And the numbers are striking. Clinical trials show over 2/3, like 67% of participants no longer met the criteria for PTSD after MDMA-assisted therapy.
67%.
Yeah.
That's huge for PTSD, especially complex cases.
It really is. It's moving beyond just managing symptoms towards actual recovery. Okay, let's pivot again. Ketamine. Different category altogether, right? It's dissociative.
Long used as an anesthetic, but now making waves for treatment-resistant depression and, importantly, acute suicidal thoughts.
And the speed is the remarkable thing here.
It's unprecedented, really. Unlike standard antidepressants that can take weeks to kick in, ketamine can reduce depressive symptoms and suicidality within hours.
Hours! That's potentially life-saving.
Absolutely. For someone in acute crisis, it can be a vital intervention. And its mechanism is different again. It seems to work primarily on the glutamate system, promoting neuroplasticity, basically encouraging the growth of new connections between brain cells.
So while psilocybin might reset thought patterns, ketamine seems to help build new physical pathways, like actual rewiring.
That's a good way to put it. It's fostering synaptic growth and resilience at a biological level. Again, breaking down old barriers by building new routes.
And it's not just synthetic compounds. Traditional plant medicines are also being studied now, like ayahuasca.
Yes, this Amazonian brew has a long history, but now it's being looked at clinically for addiction, trauma, even spiritual or existential crises.
How does it seem to help with addiction?
It often facilitates really deep introspection. People report gaining profound insights into the root causes the emotional pain, the trauma behind their addictive behaviors. This understanding can really help reduce dependency.
And the spiritual aspect.
It often induces very powerful, sometimes cathartic, spiritual-type experiences. This seems particularly helpful for people facing deep existential anxiety, like those with a terminal illness. Studies suggest it can reduce fear of death and increase acceptance.
And finally, LSD, the original psychedelic icon. It's back in the research labs, too.
It is. After decades of stigma, serious research is picking up again. Current studies are looking at its potential for things like treating severe cluster headaches, easing anxiety in terminally ill patients.
But also just understanding the brain.
Exactly. Neuroscientists are using it as a tool to explore consciousness itself, neuroplasticity, how the brain generates our reality. Its return really reflects a broader cultural shift, seeing it less as just a counterculture symbol and more as a potentially powerful tool for healing and understanding in the 21st century.
Okay, so let's try and tie this all together.
Right. We started with this album using sound, structure, and technology to map out a journey, perception, breakdown, transcendence, ambiguity, and artistic rendering of dissolving the ego, you could say. And then we looked at these clinical therapies, using specific chemicals to induce somewhat similar processes in the brain, disrupting rigid networks, fostering new connections, allowing reprocessing of trauma, surrendering old structures to find healing.
The art mirrors the science, in a way, or the internal experience, at least.
Precisely. Both seem to be about navigating that process of letting go of an old structure to find something new, something potentially more expansive or integrated.
It really comes back to that McKenna quote, doesn't it? Dissolving those culturally laid down models, whether they're models of perception shaped by music or models of thought and feeling etched by trauma.
Yeah. And the fact that psychedelics are re-emerging so strongly in serious medicine, it suggests a big shift. Maybe we're starting to see mental health not just as a biochemical imbalance, but also as something involving experience, meaning, and even existential dimensions.
An acknowledgement that sometimes to fix something deeply rigid, whether it's a musical form or a pattern of suffering, you might need to, well, temporarily take it apart.
You got it.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on. If this process, this conscious dissolution of self, can be mapped out with sound and technology, and if rewriting deeply ingrained trauma can be helped along by chemistry that fosters safety and literally builds new connections in the brain.
What does that suggest about identity itself? How fixed is it, really?
Are we the signal? Are we the static, the silence? Or maybe, as both the art and the science seem to hint, maybe we're the ongoing conversation between them, always breathing the infinite.